8. YOLO-World, Tencent, CVPR 2024. And I want to start with a tension you've probably felt if you work anywhere near video. You can have a detector that understands new words at runtime, or you can have one that keeps up with the camera. Pick one. That's been the unspoken deal in open vocabulary detection for years. Pretty much AP on LVIS, ugly latency on a stream. YOLO-World is interesting because it treats that trade-off as the thing to kill, not the thing to accept. The paper isn't "we beat grounding dino on a chart." It's "we stayed in YOLO's latency class while doing open vocab." Different pitch, different evidence bar. The false choice, open vocabulary or real time. YOLO-World bets you shouldn't have to pick. Most detection papers read like benchmark papers. Train big, report AP, mention speed later. This one reads closer to a systems paper with a vision contribution wrapped inside. The question isn't only, what's the AP? It's, what's the AP per millisecond? That framing is why it landed at CVPR, and why it's useful for industry folks watching how to publish. Quick history, because context matters. Closed-set YOLO variants owned deployment for a decade. Traffic cams, factory lines, phone galleries, because they're predictable and fast. Then language showed up. GLIP, grounding dino, all these models that bind text to regions beautifully on held-out categories. But plug them into a 30 FPS pipeline, and the profile looks nothing like YOLO. You're paying for language every forward pass, or you're running a two-stage story that's fine offline and painful live. So, teams fork. Research chases open vocab, production keeps shipping fixed-label YOLO. Same company, two code bases, zero papers bridging them. That gap, not "we need more parameters," is what YOLO-World walks into. Benchmark culture rewards the biggest model that fits on an A100 for evaluation. Systems culture asks what runs on the GPU you budgeted for the feature. Tencent's AI lab sits closer to the second camp here. They didn't start from, how do we maximize LVIS? They started from, how much LVIS can we buy before we violate YOLO throughput? Rebuttal-PAN is the technical symptom of that mindset. Rich vision language neck while training, collapsed detector at inference. Language teaches the weights, then gets out of the way when the video starts. If I'm wearing my reviewer hat for a second, what made this submission credible beyond the architecture diagram? 3 things that are hard to fake on a semester project. Question 1. Can you prove the speed claim on hardware people actually rent? They report FPS on commodity GPUs next to zero-shot AP, same model, same row. Not a footnote, not a separate appendix model. That's an industry habit. Throughput is part of the result, not a marketing slide after publication. Question 2. Can you generalize to new words without a tiny train set? That's where the pre-training story comes in. Objects 365 for detection muscle, gold G-style grounding for language alignment, mixed on purpose. You can copy the loss functions from the PDF. Building the data plumbing at that scale is a different beast, and reviewers know it. Question 3. Can you deploy the thing you trained? Rebuttal-PAN exists because a graph that still runs a text tower per frame is a non-starter in production. Collapsing VL branches into a standard YOLO forward pass is an engineering constraint driving a research design. That's the industry move. Let deployment shape the method, not the slide deck. Split the paper mentally. Left side, ideas, prompt then detect, reparametrizable language path, detection grounding pre-training, portable. Right side, the joint claim that open vocab accuracy and YOLO class speed coexist in one checkpoint. That joint claim is what Tencent's stack, data, and eval discipline were built to support. CVPR accepted the whole argument, not a single module. Walk through the pipeline in order, not as a grab bag. Train, Inject language into the YOLO neck via RepVL pan so regions learn text alignment while the detector still looks like YOLO at the bottom. Pre-train. Flood the model with both detection and grounding data so zero shot isn't a magic fine-tune trick on 12 labels. Run. Prompt, then detect. Parse the user's text once. Reuse embeddings across frames. If you've profiled video ML, you know that's where latency usually dies, and they designed around it. Open the results like a skeptic. LVIS zero-shot AP, competitive with heavier open-vocab models. Okay, expected if pre-training is serious. Now scroll to throughput. Still in YOLO territory on the GPUs they name. That's the mic drop row. Both numbers, one model. A paper earns trust when each table answers the sentence in the abstract. Here, the abstract basically promises open vocab without leaving real time, and the tables don't make you infer speed from parameter count. That alignment is what we push in the accelerator when we talk about believable evidence, and this paper is a straightforward instance of it. Reviewer pet peeve I'll pass along. Title says real-time, body only ablates MAP. Or, title says open world, latency buried in supplementary on a smaller model. YOLO-World isn't perfect, but at least the main tables force the conversation on both axes. Rebuttal questions I'd still ask. How much of zero-shot is pre-training vocabulary leakage versus truly novel phrases? Are baselines equally optimized for speed? When faster appears, is it just smaller? And if you swap out objects 365 or gold G, how brittle does the story get? Good paper, just know where the brag ends. Who should steal this template? Anyone whose PM already wrote an FPS number in the spec doc before the architecture review. Turn that number into the hypothesis. Compare methods under the cap. Log accuracy and latency in the same table. Write the method section as the explanation for how you met the cap, not as the whole paper with the cap as an afterthought. If that's the paper you're trying to write from a production code base, we help with that. ortiz.advisory.services@gmail.com